friends. This is the program Empire of Lies, where we discuss manipulation and disinformation in Russian media. Ukraine as a liquidation project. How Russian TV explains Kyiv's future political collapse to Europe. In the latest episode of Olga Skabeeva's talk show, viewers were once again offered a peculiar map of the future. Ukraine is supposedly on the brink of state collapse. Washington is secretly preparing its capitulation. Europe has completely lost its independence, and a coup is brewing in Kyiv. For European readers, this composition is important primarily because of how Russian propaganda constructs the logic of Western actions, presenting them as an inevitable scenario for Ukraine's political dismantling. Washington as the architect of capitulation. The starting point is rumors circulating in the American media about a 28-point plan being discussed between the US and Russia. Skabeeva emphasizes two things. One, Ukraine and the Europeans were not allowed to participate in the discussion. Two, the plan allegedly represents a new version of the Kremlin's maximalist demands. But on Russian airwaves, the interpretation immediately expands. Trump is pushing Kyiv into a corner. Kyiv must give up Kherson, Donetsk, Luhansk, and Zaporizhia. Europe will be offered a poisoned agreement on security guarantees to replace NATO. This creates the image of Washington and Moscow deciding the fate of the continent without Ukraine, while Europe is left without a voice. For Russian audiences, this confirms the long-held mantra that the EU is not a subject and that only great powers make real decisions. European diplomats are calling the as-yet unconfirmed new US plan, which consists of 28 points, another attempt by the Trump administration to back Kyiv into a corner. Washington and Moscow are discussing Ukraine's future. American media are reporting on a 28-point plan that excludes Ukraine and the Europeans. A US official is referring to the old plan of maximalist Russian demands. In Ukraine, they are commenting only in general terms, as it is unclear whether this plan originated in the Oval Office or the president's inner circle. Trump also wants to make an offer to the Europeans. He could also be described as poisoned for Europe. Ukrainians are completely withdrawing from Kherson, Zaporizhia, Donetsk, and Luhansk. Europe's role, supporting Ukraine as a mistake. European reactions are presented selectively and superficially, but with the necessary narrative nuance. European diplomats emphasize that any plan must include Ukraine and the EU. The formula one aggressor and one victim is used, but this position is presented as sentimental and weak, lacking in impact. The underlying message is simple. Europe doesn't understand that Washington is prepared to sign a peace treaty that Kyiv would perceive as a defeat and Moscow as a victory. This leads to the following plot: Kyiv's political erosion as proof of inevitability. The central part of the plot is a large-scale, carefully constructed picture of a Ukrainian political crisis. It is built on three pillars. One, a corruption scandal. It is described as the largest since 2014, destroying trust within the Ukrainian parliament and launching an anti-Zelensky movement. Two, loss of control over parliament. Speaker Stepanchuk is allegedly freezing the work of the Verkhovna Rada to give the Ukrainian parliament time to avoid a vote of no confidence in the government. 3. An impending change of power. An entire segment of the broadcast is dedicated to Zelensky's possible successors, Tymoshenko, Poroshenko, Razumkov, Arakhamia, and even an interim anti-corruption government. And the key conclusion is formulated almost verbatim. Ukraine can sign a peace treaty only after Zelensky's resignation and the purge of his entourage. Moscow as the only guarantor of peace. This fragment isn't just a propaganda passage, but the logical core of the narrative. The Russian broadcasts the thesis, If Ukraine wants peace, it must accept Russia's terms. Skabeeva advances the idea that Russia is not making concessions. Kyiv is incapable of governing the country. Washington and Europe are already prepared to put pressure on Ukraine. Corruption scandals are a symptom of the end of the regime. This paints a picture of a necessary, inevitable, and even rational transition of power in Kyiv, which should make possible a peace agreement favorable to Moscow. Think, analyze, draw conclusions, and don't be fooled. This was the Empire of Lies program.